Namaskar everyone. My name is Ravi Gupta. I am CEO and founder of Elets Techno Media Private Limited. We have been bringing out a magazine called Digital Learning for past 16 years, and we have been looking at documenting the innovations in education, preschool, school, and higher education. And we have been organizing conferences and workshops in India and outside India on the subject of education. And we also work in several other sectors. We have a magazine on e-governance, e-health, and we have a magazine on banking and finance. And we also have been organizing workshops, conferences in more than 30 sectors. And at the end of the day, we are an organization which is into the knowledge sector, and we are into the field of knowledge management. And the panel, what we have today is with the top education leaders. And we are going to talk about, discuss about future of education roadmap and implementation in the COVID situation. So I have a eminent panel here, and I'm going to request each of the panelists to please briefly introduce themselves and their schools in 1 or 1.5 minutes each, so that we are on time. May I request to start with Mr. Prabhakaran Nair to introduce.
I'm Prabhakaran Nair, Headmaster from Lawrence School, Lovedale. This is located in Ooty, and the institution has been into education for the past 162 years. It's a pleasure meeting all of you. I would like to learn a lot from this program.
Thank you so much, Prabhakaranji. We have Skand Bali. May I request you to introduce yourself, Skand?
I am Skand Bali, and I'm the principal of the Hyderabad Public School, Begumpet in Hyderabad. My school is about 97 years old and has a great legacy with the leaders in almost all the fields, and especially the global firms headed by our alumni. So very happy to be here with all these esteemed panelists, and looking forward to this interaction.
Fantastic. Welcome, Skand. May I request Dr. Rakesh Khullar to please introduce yourself?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Rakesh Khullar. I'm the chairman of Birla Foundation, a society which owns schools by the name of DLF Public School, which is a 24-year-old school in Ghaziabad. We have around 2,500 students. This school, our organization, society, is in the name of a great educationist, Shri Darbari Lal ji, who was president of BAV College Managing Committee, which owns more than 500 institutions all over India. So our second school is in Panchkula by the name of the Gurukul, and we have a new started school 2-3 years back, that is the DLF World School in Greater Noida. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Rakesh Khullar. May I request Shilpa and Potnis to please introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shilpa Potnis, president of the Birla Open Minds group of schools. We were formerly known as Birla EduTech. Now we've renamed as Birla Open Minds. And we have a group of about 125 plus schools span India as of today. We are a mix of standalone preschools, which go by the name of Birla Open Minds Preschools, and the K-12 schools as Birla Open Minds International Schools and India. And looking forward to a healthy interactive discussion today with eminent panelists here, and thank you for having me here on the panel, Mr. Ravi.
Thank you, Shilpa. Thanks for joining. May I request Harsh to please speak?
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Harsh Madhok, Director Sunbeam, Director Development and Operations at Sunbeam Education Group, Varanasi. And Sunbeam is a 49-year-old organization, and it's one of the top CBSE schools in Eastern UP, and we have one of the best boarding schools as well, and we have 2 women's colleges as well. And our strength as of now is about 28,000 children studying in roughly 24 schools, either directly Sunbeam or one of our affiliate schools. And I'm very happy to be part of this panel.
Welcome, Harsh. Thanks for joining us. May I request Dhanya to please speak?
A very happy evening, everybody. I am Dhanya. I'm the Creative Director and CEO of Sri Venkateswara Group of Schools, Chennai. We are a 30-year-old and we have 6,000 children in 4 schools under our aegis. And we believe in happy learning every single day and also training the head, heart, and the hands of children, along with leaders, future leaders, adult leaders. And I think we're all here in a way to forget and cool the effects of Corona. And this is the day that's dedicated to organizations like Elets. You're doing exemplary job on, you've been doing this for a while now, and all of us are, given that shake with the cold water, saying that this is needed now and this is going to be the norm from today. And the day has come. All of us have to embrace technology, awaiting to be overwhelmed by information and wisdom from all of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dhanya. One basic suggestion to all the panelists, please don't record this because we are right now on Facebook Live, and it will also get uploaded on YouTube by tomorrow. So if you are recording it, the speed will be slower and we will have a lag in it. So please stop the recording if any of you are recording. Right? Please mute your phones. There is some noise coming in the background. So requesting each of you to please mute it. May I request Kavitha to kindly introduce yourself.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dr. Kavitha Jain. I'm from MD and Edify Education. We are a group of 72 K-12 schools and about 264 preschools all over the country. We're also an associate with Cambridge English, a part of the Cambridge English University, where we work currently with about 3,000 schools on improving language of students across the country. It's a pleasure to be a part of the panel. Thank you.
Thanks for joining, Kavitha. May I request Sandeep Goenka to please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Sandeep Goenka. I'm the Managing Trustee of Swami Vivekanand International School and CP Goenka Group of Schools. We have around 8 schools across. It's in Mumbai and Pune and catering to about more than 20,000 students. We are young compared to so many of the schools here. We're just 25-year-old. And it's a pleasure to be here among such a lovely set of people exchanging ideas. I'm sure it'll be a great afternoon and evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will start our panel discussions. Thanks for the introduction, each of you. We are honored to have you all here. I will start with Mr. Prabhakaran Nair from the Lawrence School. Please tell us about the challenges which COVID has brought, and especially each of the schools is operating in a different city, different location. So each of you might have several unique challenges. And requesting each of you to please mute your phones. Please, I think Sandeep ji, your phone, if you can mute it. Yeah, Mr. Prabhakaran, please.
Thank you, Dr. Ravi. First of all, this was quite an unexpected situation. We never experienced this kind of calamity as such. However, with the passage of time, everyone hoped that we'll be able to overcome it. But the most important challenge is the psychological drift. We all in the field of education, there is a very clear-cut coordination of students and teachers and face-to-face interaction and learning in the classroom, learning outside the classroom. That was the basic concept of education. We always emphasize on that. Suddenly, there is a vacuum there that, you cannot see your students. And that, the first challenge is that mindset, the psychological barrier. Now, you have to depend on an electronic screen. But the first one, it took some time for us to recover that type of a disconnect. The second important thing is that looking at the wider perspective of education, it gives that, these things can happen. an invisible enemy, a virus, should not disturb or should not hamper our education. Education is a lifelong process. Since the technology is already there, it opens up a venue to sort out and get the mindset. So what? So the challenge itself gives an opportunity. And of course, the fear factor is there in most of the cities, because some of the cities are very badly affected. Some areas are comparatively peaceful. But even the social distancing has also created some sort of psychological drift. I don't know much about in other areas here. And even within the system itself, with the administrative staff and support staff and with our colleagues, it brings a sort of distance, with a mask, sometimes with something is coming. Our normal life has been disturbed because of something else. And psychologically, it has been a sudden sort of challenge which has thrown to us. However, human life, we as a species have an amazing ability to evolve with the time. So this has also given us a lot of opportunities. So I haven't even thought of talking to you like this 1 month back. And I couldn't dream of talking to those the respected panel members. So this gives a hope also. Every challenges will give some opportunity of learning. But the biggest challenge is now, when is this going to end? We have no idea. And even if it ends next month or next month, how is the world going to be after this? It's highly unpredictable. However, day by day, we are working on with various parameters, various strategies to cope with this challenge. And maybe the post-COVID scenario will be different from what the normal life and normal learning and teaching which we have done in the class may change. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prabhakaran. Thanks for being brief and to the point. May I request Skand, the challenges you as a school faced?
Most of the challenges Mr. Prabhakaran Nair has already communicated. But there are certain points which I would like to address at large, not necessarily in a closed environment of the schools which we are representing. I think one of the biggest challenge in this lockdown situation or this pandemic online educational scenario is to accommodate children who come from very humble backgrounds. Maybe the ones who either do not have access to the gadgets, or if they have access to the gadgets, being in a rural area, they still struggle to get the connectivity. So that is one of the challenges that I hope the government, at least the government of India, thinks of something to help them in this hour, so that the connectivity is not lost there. There are more opportunities which have been visibly present with this, what has been thrown to us at the moment, which obviously we'll be talking about in a few more minutes when we interact more. Another challenge which I foresee is when the schools reopen. There will be apprehensions in the minds of the parents, whether to send children to school or not, whether it is safe to have them in the school or not, because you don't want a relapse of the whole situation. And then keeping social distancing within the schools, in case if that is a norm, will be another challenge which we'll be facing tomorrow. Another challenge which has been thrown at the schools, most of the schools across the country, is fee restrictions. Because that's another challenge. You have to look after your community, your teachers, your staff. You have to maintain the school. There is a recurring cost which goes into the school. So that's another challenge. Parents expect that school should not charge us. The government is budging under the parent pressure. That's another challenge which we are facing. Many schools in the West, Canada, US, and in Northern Europe and Western Europe are on the verge of shutting down. America has already declared that most likely schools won't open for a whole year. I don't know whether we reach that situation or not. There are many principals I'm in touch with who are in Europe and Canada. They said that they are looking at a situation where schools might shut down. Canadian Education Ministry has already started looking at an alternate of permanent online learning platforms rather than having physical schools existing. So all governments are looking differently. They all are thinking differently. So definitely these are challenging times, but these challenging times have also thrown a lot of opportunities at us. So let's see how it unfolds. So these are some of the challenges which I feel at the moment which we are facing, and maybe we might face in future as well. And one last challenge which I want to mention here is, which I think also we need to address, that the majority of the teaching community in India comes from a gender wherein ladies are involved. Now, with no help at home, most of them are looking after their homes as well, cooking, cleaning, doing utensils, etc., etc. I don't know how many of them are getting support at home, and then expecting them to run an online curriculum. Hats off to our lady teachers across the country. I mean, they are doing a fabulous job, but definitely that is a challenge, especially if you have your own large families to look after. Another challenge which teaching community might face is, if there are limited gadgets at home, then all parents might be needing those gadgets. And then, because most of the work is also happening online, then how will we engage those children to deal with the gadgets? There was a time when we used to talk about too much of screen time is not good for the mental health of children. Now I see most of the webinars, people are talking about early years online teaching and learning, which looks bizarre at one level, that suddenly everybody has forgotten about the psychological and mental impact of technology or the gadgets on children, and everybody's just throwing online across. One challenge which we will face at heads and the owners of the institution is that a lot of people will throw technological options at us. So you don't know which one to choose from, and which one will have some value or the other. So these are some of my thoughts at the moment.
Great, Skand, thanks for bringing in the experience of Canada and US, and explaining the challenge of the teachers right now. Dr. Rakesh Khullar, please.
Yeah, Dr. Ravi, I am a very positive person. I try to see everything on a very positive way. During this lockdown period, when I started the school in, say, 24 years ago, in the year 1996, we used to think that we are starting a school or a building, so there will be a time when no building, no infrastructure, nothing is required, everything will be online. But that may take at least 50 or more than 50 years, maybe 75 years. But the point is, has that time come for that online learning? So is it the right time to start this online learning, online teaching and everything? But my answer is no. This is not the right time, because we don't have the proper infrastructure, basic infrastructure that is required. Do we have 24-hour power supply in each of the whole of India? Do we have a proper internet service in the whole of India? No, it is not there. But even then, they have given us a sample case of how to start online teaching, how to educate students to online. And this thing, our school students, our teachers have proved this very correctly, and they have really worked very hard. We started online teaching right from the day one in the new session, say from April 1st or 2nd, and they took just 10 days in the last month of March. They took 10 days to prepare the platform and everything. And we are doing very well in this online teaching. We got a very good support from the parents, from the students, and we'll believe that we have, through online teaching, we have around 70 to 80% attendance of the students. And all the parents, students are very eager to join online class. But even then, there are a lot of challenges. One thing, our teachers are not that trained to give online teaching to the students. Why? Because they are not given the training for giving the online teaching to the students during their B.Ed or M.Ed time. Another thing is, they have to change the whole of the curriculum to teach the students to online teaching. And the most important thing that is as an owner, I can see the financial implication, financial problem that we will be facing. Because I'm not sure that the parents are not going to pay them, but they have a basic problem. They have a real problem. Even there are a number of parents who have a financial problem from their employer, from their business, because the people are not out of business for one month. They have to pay the salaries to the staff as per the government directives. We have to pay the salaries to the staff without getting the fee. And even to the parents, the government is saying, okay, you don't pressurize the parents to deposit the fee. And at the same time, they are asking us to pay the salaries to the staff. And you know, in the schools, major portion of our expenditure is salaries. More than 50 or more than 60% of our total receipts are spent on salaries. So that is the biggest challenge which we may think in a time to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rakesh. The financial challenges are massive for schools. Shilpa ji, please.
I think her mic is mute.
Ma'am, you will have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, okay. Hi, sorry. When we look at these movies like Contagion, and we thought it was something that was in the far distance and would never come to us. It would look like fiction. When now this virus is staring at us outside our doors and windows, we really don't know how to go about this. So when I look at the challenges that our schools are facing, whether I'm talking of Birla Open Minds or all schools across the world, there are two major challenges that I look at. And one, the very first one is how to keep our students meaningfully occupied such that there is no break in their learning process. That is one challenge, and which, as I agree with all the earlier panelists who've spoken, our teachers are doing a wonderful job of handling this via various mediums of e-learning. So that was the first challenge that we all are facing. The second challenge, as Mr. Dr. Khullar and Baliji also mentioned, was how, I would put it differently, how to keep our teachers motivated enough to keep doing mentoring their students, despite the fact that the question is also there on our mind, on their minds, how are they going to get their salaries? Because as per government directive, I cannot force a parent to pay the fees. Agreed, I cannot. But as an institute, I still need to pay my teachers their salaries, who are doing a wonderful job of learning, self-learning. They've learned how to do their videos, their worksheets, whatever way they are supporting the schools. So I need to provide them with that motivation on, and I cannot in any way say the salaries may not come. So despite that, my issue is, one is keeping the learners, that is the students, there's no breakage in their learning process. The other is keep the teachers motivated enough to keep doing what they are doing at the moment, because we don't know when this is going to stop and how long this is going to go on. Besides this, there's one more challenge, because my company is relatively new. We add on new schools every year. We have about 10 plus K-12 schools that were coming, that were to launch. They've already launched, but were to start the academic session in April 2020. Now, these are the schools that for them, everything is on hold. They've put in crores of rupees to do up the infrastructure, and we don't know where the situation is going to take them there. So that is another challenge for the new educational institutes that have set up. And there is a whole different kind of challenge that the existing schools face. So currently at this point, this is our major concern, major challenge that we are facing over and above all the other challenges that we are talking of here. That's what my take on this.
Thank
challenge.
you, Shilpa.
Thank
you. May I request Harsh to speak, please?
Okay, so some of the challenges which schools are facing in this situation, some of the panelists, Mr. Prabhakaran and Mr. Skand, have already, they have said most of the things. but I'll just add just give my 2 cents on this matter. Some of the challenges academically is to how to ensure that children's education is not compromised during lockdown, and that they remain relatively have a disciplined routine. This routine is very important for children, and more than for the elders, because we can go back and we still have some habits ingrained. But for children who are in their formative years and who are very young, it's very important to keep them regulated, their behavior regulated, because most of them, if they don't get the screen time, if their parents are not ensuring that they're attending online classes, it becomes very difficult for them to come out of their bad habits, which are definitely habit forming. A lot of screen time, most of it may not be studies. So that's a huge challenge which we are facing as far as that is concerned. See, the other problem is obviously syllabus completion. We need to finish the syllabus in time and ensure that that we don't have to dilute the CBSE the exams, especially the board exams. I'm not sure how. We are looking at March, April when the exams will happen. I'm not sure how we will conduct the exams and whether they will be diluted. Will we have a diluted curriculum? CBSE was already in the mode of diluting the curriculum by 50% at some point. So I'm not sure how this situation will play out. Obviously, gadgets are limited in the house. Many parents, especially for children who, like in the West, every parent can have their own, every child can have their own laptop or Chromebook, and they can, do their assignment, and they have very good Wi-Fi speeds. Obviously in India, the scenario is very different. Parents and children, they are, sharing a device, and the speed of the device, the connectivity on, especially on, even if it's not 3G or 4G, it's not very good. So those are some of the concerns which are academic and non-academic. Now going back to non-academic concerns, again, how do we revive the confidence of parents and children once the lockdown is over, that it's safe for them to get out of the house? I think Mr. Prabhakaran had said that most of the challenges are going to be, psychological. How do people react now that everything they touch, or everything is dangerous now? I mean, if everything is a fomite, and fomite is something which can carry any pathogen or virus, how do we make sure that everybody is not super paranoid about that? So that's one of the major concerns. The other thing which obviously Mr. Skand had also said, that salaries of staff. This is a very touchy topic because we are expected, private schools are expected to pay the teachers' salaries, and most of our cost, I would go as far as saying that about 75 to 80% of the cost of running a school is fixed cost. So it's on things which are running regardless of whether the school is running or not. So these are some of the legal challenges which we are facing at the moment.
Great. Thanks, Harsh, for pointing this out. May I request Sandeep Goenka to speak, please?
Thank you. As we all discussed, problems are huge, enormous, and it's here to stay. Till the time we don't find a vaccine, it may be 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years, you never know. Today there was a sudden lockdown and we're facing this issue. But once it opens up, there is no guarantee that there won't be subsequent lockdowns. I would say it's going to be a new normal for a student. The government, when they realize the numbers are going up, they might have a sudden clamp down on, say, okay, lockdown for next 2 weeks. So we as educationists need to be prepared for that. Frankly, it may be wrong time to say that academics is not the only concern I think we should look at. Worldwide, we are in the same storm. Everybody around the world are facing these challenges, and we should just cut down upon the academics and look into the other aspect of a child. Make it meaningful, make it purposeful. It should be real life connects. I would say the mental health and anxiety of a child also is very important. And during these times, if the schools have a good balance of not only academics, but also looking into how to develop or nurture the hobby of the child. It may be dancing, it may be music, it may be art, everything else, everything all this, of this sort is also available online as well. So we must not just look into the academic aspect, but into all these non-academic, in which you see a happy child. They should know, okay, this is the way of life for next 2 years. They should not get bogged down, not go into depression, and that positivity we as educationists should give them, time and again. And don't worry, this too shall pass. The world has, such instances. Of course, we've probably not in our lifetimes, but even if you take Queen Elizabeth too, I mean, they say she's passed through so much of, malaria, the World War, this, that, everything. So we need to reinforce that this is the new normal for at least the next 2 years. And academic, I should say, like Harsh also said, just cut it down to half, make it a good, enjoyable learning experience for a child. I think that should go a long way. This is as per what I think as educationists today. Thank you.
Great, Sandeep. Thank you. May I request Kavitha Jain to please speak?
Hi. Yeah, most of the points I think were covered by the earlier panelists, but it's essential to keep or to uphold the motivation, but along with that, the discipline and integrity in teachers and students both. Institutions all over the world, I mean, some of our students who are in the best universities in the world, the universities have already declared that there will be no GPA on their scorecards. It will just be a pass or fail because it's online. You never know what is the integrity the student or the facilitator is upholding. And that I think is a major challenge because we are doing a lot of teaching. There's a lot of content that is being thrown at students, but are we even analyzing the outcomes, or are we able to analyze the kind of outcomes with so much data, with so many students using this? So that's one challenge. And another one is, I somehow feel government is not going to, or is even now not giving the priority or to this sector. Considering that it is not for profit, it's very easy for government to come up with norms like don't charge fee, pay the salaries, and it may continue so because we are called a not-for-profit center, which is fine. We are not-for-profit, but even operational expenses to be able to sustain. But the government norms that are yet to come is a big fear and worry, apprehension, certainly. Yeah, one positive side of it, I was amazed at the spirit students had, though. I was thinking they're not meeting, for days together, they haven't met, the friendships will dilute. But these kids come up with such wonderful videos of them sitting at their homes and making these fun videos, showing that their friendship is so intact, it does not get bothered by such things, is an amazing positive thing to look at for us. Especially for groups like us, where we have schools all across the country, from different socioeconomic backgrounds. I have schools that charge 15,000 fee, and I have schools that charge 5 lakhs fee. And then these students coming together and creating these fun videos of connecting. Maybe they would have never connected otherwise. But I think this challenge has given them that opportunity to connect and uphold their friendships, which is amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Kavitha. Your point about government taking this issue more seriously is very, very important. They have to look at the school educators and school owners' issues ASAP. May I request Dhanya Bharathi to please speak?
Yes, please.
And I will request, let's have it a brief PPT as much as possible.
Yeah, I think, the challenge lies in the eyes of the beholder and how intense the problem is in the country. So when we talk about issues that are there, the challenges itself is very challenging for all of us because it keeps changing. It's very dynamic. It's not static. So there was a stage of denial, thinking that it was not going to be that serious in India. And then we were thrown with that reality that this is going to be something that is on our face, and we will have to, cater to these challenges. And then we got into the harsh reality of acceptance. And then we thought about how to engage children, teachers, parents, and all other stakeholders, and ourselves to begin with. So I think this has led to some confusions, the order after the chaos, leading to some sort of clarity also. How do we have to take forward with the action that we are going to do as a community. So I believe the present is the future. So I am here to tell about few challenges that we have faced, because we are a group of institution that has got both the well-to-do family and a student from a very humble background. So we handled a few things in the field. So I would like to share those with fellow teachers and leaders here. So the first challenge that we faced was the challenge of learning. So how do I make my children and parents along with us learn? So when I look at it, I think, looking at yourself, and there's one challenge that will never be solved by technology, and that is a simple touch of compassion from the teacher. So having said that, it is also very important to let yourself be comforted amidst the chaos, and tell yourself that you will have to sustain it and transfer the same positive energy to students as well. So that is about the self, and that also deals with the metacognitive domain of the students. You enrich it, and you also, is the best thing because they are at home and you have time to bond with the family. That has never happened to us when children are here with us, because they spend most of the time at school. And when you have children from varied economic backgrounds, you have a set of parents who think that school has the maximum responsibility on, sculpting the child. So we have adopted plans like, you have to have dinner with your family, talk about what you've learned today in e-learning. And you have to have this kind of time with your parents, and they will have to teach you few things every single day, and we make sure that happens. So with the connection that is established at home, we make sure as a school that it's happening when we are all here, enclosed in a space. And there is also an opportunity to connect with nature, and the moment to pause and look and appreciate the beauty, because that's very, very important for the creative development of the child.
I think we lost her, or what?
Like we've lost her.
Yeah, we lost her.
So by the time we get her back, I think let's move to the next part of our discussion, which is the exit strategy. What is the way forward from here? So what are the solutions, possible solutions? So may I request Mr. Prabhakaran Nair to please start?
Thank you. First of all, be positive and optimistic. We as a species, we have evolved over a period of time. And like what some of the panel members said, this too shall pass. 3 things we have to do it very clearly. Number 1, take the responsibility of our children. They may not be sitting in your class, they may not be in your school, but they are there in their residence. Constantly be in touch with them, give them enough academic input, whatever possible way you can. We are missing out only one thing, co-curricular activities. See, schools like mine are deeply into various physical activities, sporting and co-curricular activities, which develop leadership skills, which gives about a lot of communication skills, which gives teamwork and all this. But for a brief period of time, we can manage that. We can keep it in pending and give that confidence and support to our children and also to the parents, because they're fighting their own battle. In fact, if you actually look at it, they have their own business running on laws. They have various other professional issues deal with it. The children are sitting at home, and most of the children, these teenagers, when they are sitting at home, the time management is a very difficult thing. So we as educators, our responsibility is to give the confidence, give the trust, and also keep in touch with them. And let's take the responsibility of those kids. Though they are not with us in our classroom, they are there in our mind. Second most important thing is that, the emotional support. If you actually look at it, I was just going through certain points before coming here. If you look at the calamity which is happening all over the world over a period of human history, the fatality rate with COVID-19 is not that difficult if you compare with various things. As on today, the maximum number of people who are affected with health issues are with diabetes mellitus. 3.5 lakh people every year face this and reach into a tragedy. And the most important attack on human species is not the virus, it's a mosquito, starting from dengue fever to this. Every year, roughly around 8 lakh people die in different parts of the country. And surprisingly, next to that mosquito affected infection and death is suicide rate, 7 to 7.5. And another major calamity happening in a country is the road accidents, and the number of people die in road accidents. So if you compare with the calamity on an average, this is something which can be workable. This can be sorted out. It's very, very important for us to give that confidence and support. We are in a crisis, but this crisis can be managed. And the third most important thing is the whole world is facing it. This way or that way, we also have to contribute our own share in a positive way. There are sufferings. Suffering is part of life. Keep in touch with our society, with community, with students, and get it going. And do not let this particular period, this particular crisis to disturb with our studies. Let's keep our co-curricular activities in pending. Maybe after that, just like what we say pre-independence and post-independence, post-COVID-19 may have some more opportunities for us to learn and tackle with it. But again, it's our job to keep the morale up, to give support and emotional, especially emotional support to our parents and our students. And we will handle it. And financial issues are there. It's not all that easy, because every institution exists, because most of the institutions are not funded by the government. They're all self-sustainable institutions. Those issues need to be addressed in whatever way it is. But matter of fact is that we are not the only ones suffering. The whole world is suffering. And there will be a solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Prabhakaran. May I request Skand to speak, please? Skand Bali.
Hi, Ravi. Can you please repeat your question?
Yeah, so the possible solutions, the possible way forward, and the exit strategy from this situation.
Well, one of the things which we need to address immediately is that, luckily from the government point of view and the school point of view, most of the schools in next couple of months across the country would have been closed for summer break. So I think this is one of the time where the government needs to enhance the connectivity across the country, so that the children from the rural and the far-flung areas also do not lose out on this learning opportunity, which this challenge which has been thrown at us. That I expect from the government. I think there are more opportunities than challenges here during this time. One of the things is that it has given us an opportunity to be more creative, to find out the ways and means, how to conduct the co-curricular activities. I'm sure inter-house or inter-student music competitions, debates, declamations can happen online. You could have even dance competition online. A student can prepare dance at home and then you could do it online. So it's all about creativity. It has given opportunity for us as the leaders of the schools or the owners of the schools to apply our mind and bring creativity into the system. So, and one of the thing which I see right now is to include everybody into this system. So I think schools and educators might come closer, because you will end up sharing your problems with people. Everybody is facing the same problem across the world. So you may end up sharing more. You may end up collaborating more, which was, I think, lacking in India earlier. So these are some of the solutions I think people should not and will not hesitate in reaching out to others. And I'm sure people will be standing with open arms to help everyone. So, so this is what I feel in the current situation, that solutions will come. They are coming our way. And I'm sure all of us will find a way out.
Great. Thanks, Skand. Thanks for the positive thoughts. May I request to keep your phone on silent? There is a noise happening. May I request Shilpa to speak, please? Shilpa, please.
I agree with Mr. Nair and Mr. Bali about what they said. We have to definitely look at this whole scenario very positively when we talk of way forward. The roadmap that we're looking at for the future of the schooling or any educational institute is going to be, like Mr. Bali said, positively more of collaboration. So platforms like Elets, we need to collaborate more often and brainstorm more often on various ways of how we are going to take this forward. But yes, definitely the psychological support to students and to the entire community, which is the parents, teachers, and the students, is of paramount importance to us at this point of when we look at the way forward. Academics, yes, is important. We will take care of it. We are taking care of it in our own way. Each school is doing their bit. But the psychological support and is very important for a preschooler. To see the teacher not standing at the gate to wish the child is also a very daunting thing for a little child. But imagine the child now, after whatever, 2 months, 3 months, whenever we open, coming to the school, and the teacher is not going to hug this child. Why? Because we are all wary of the virus, the social distancing. Here we are talking in school, we talk of social skill development, social development. Preschoolers are coming to school for social skills, to enhance social skills, and we talk of social distancing suddenly. So to make a child understand this concept and to take it forward, it's going to be, I won't say impossible, it's going to work. We will work on it. All educators are working on that in our own way by providing support to the parents, to the teachers, to the students. But going forward, we'll have to do a little more at that front. And readiness for academics, of course, we don't need to talk about that, but we are doing it. And maybe the government will, I hope the CBSE or any of the boards will finally take a call on cutting down on the academics and just work on these life skills that we keep talking of, the 21st century skills. We all have been attending numerous sessions on 21st century. We've been talking of 21st century skills for long time. Now this is the right time where we really need to focus on those, the skills of to enhance in the child. And what more than at home for a child to develop these skills in the right way. So that is our way forward. So as educators and as teachers, we can maybe formulate processes where a parent can also take charge. And I don't know, somewhere I keep coming back to, it is possible that homeschooling might take over for the next couple of years. And if that is the way forward, then we as educators will have to build up some kind of content for parents to be able to be equipped enough to take care of the homeschooling concept also. That is how I look at the way forward for this sector, where we can support our students and our parents. Thank you.
Great points, Shilpa ji. I think you talked about social distancing. I think perhaps we are talking about physical distancing, and we could be coming closer socially online.
True, very true.
Right. May I request Dr. Rakesh Khullar to please speak? Rakesh.
Right now, what we have to face, a problem we have to take a solution is that is of uncertainty. We are not certain whether we have to, for how long we have to go like this. How much time that COVID-19 will take, maybe 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, or maybe a whole session. So it all depends whether we have to complete the session online or mixing, half online and half offline. But in both the cases, a joint effort is required from all of us, like from the parents, from the teachers, from the students and the management. Parents like they will have to motivate their kids to sit in front of the computers or in front of the mobiles and listen to the teachers, and because to be on the discipline part, the parents will have to take care. Whereas in offline, teachers will take care of the discipline part and everything. And like the students, they'll have to listen to the parents as well as teachers. And out of these four, the most important role is to be played by the teachers. They'll have to play a dual role. Like first, they'll have to teach the students online. And then after the teaching, they will have to learn themselves how to teach the students online. And after that online teaching, I've seen in the case of our teachers, they start right at 7 o'clock in the morning, and they are for 4-5 hours there with the students, say up to 2, they are with the students. And right after the teaching to the students, they are in touch with the principal and the director, management, and just taking out the plan how to discuss their problem they are facing in the online teaching. And the part of the management is that they'll have to take care of all these three. If they got the good support from the teachers, students, and parents, they will have to take care of all of everything. All the teachers are satisfied, students are satisfied, and these all four joint effort is required from all four of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rakesh. May I request Sandeep Goenka to speak, please?
Like we discussed, the problems faced are huge. But of course, looking at the positive side of it, there's nothing that can't be overcome. The biggest issue right now because of this virus is going to be social distancing, like Shilpa and Rakesh ji also said. We'll have to work on that. Probably have some sort of a safety norm, because I feel there can't be a lockdown for a year and a half, right? There will be days when things will open. There will be days when there is lockdown. So we'll have to have a very good balance between online and offline. Like I've been discussing with my teachers, they are doing a fantastic job, believe me, but it's taking a toll on them. They have done it across April. But if I tell them to do it for next 3 months, impossible. Physically not possible. It's draining. I've been on Zoom sessions for 4 hours, 5 hours a day. And believe me, it's more tiring than have that 1.5 hour each travel, you know. By 10 o'clock, it's like, boss, you're done. You need to sleep. It's so tiring. So you can imagine what the teachers are going under, you know. Trying, there's a class of 40, 30, 50, trying to manage them, putting them on mute. There are 3 teachers coordinating a class right now. Somebody is ready to put on mute. Somebody is saying, okay, don't do this, don't do that. Sometimes the parent is standing behind. There are a whole lot of challenges. And it's not possible that the entire academic happens online. It's physical. I don't foresee that happening at all. It has to be a clear balance between online and offline. Probably because of the social distancing, we divide the class in 2 groups. And when the lockdown opens, maybe one group comes on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The second group will come on a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. The group which is at home does it online. The group which is, it's like vice versa. I mean, Monday, a group is in class. The same day, the second group is doing online. And similarly, Tuesday, Wednesday, it happens that way. I think we'll have to have a very clear balance. Only online is not the solution. It's very difficult for the teachers to continue like this, what they've done right now. And the other part, of course, looking forward, the co-curriculum activities, like other panelists have also said, we need to take care. And a lot of stuff is online as well, but when it's a physical sport, I don't know how it's going to be possible online. You can teach them the rules of the game, but the physical skill which is required has to be done physically. So all that, when it opens up, you just need to take care of the safety norms, precautions, the social distancing norms, which we think would be right or the government declares, and work out our academics, our entire learning based on that. So these are the few things which I thought we need to look into. And of course, right now we were unprepared, but going forward, we will be in a better position. All the teachers probably would be equipped with the right gadgets to make it even more purposeful. Probably by that time, even the students know what is, what is the norm and how they should be on an online platform. So I think it's going to be a mix of both. Only one will not be a solution. Yeah.
Thank you, Sandeep ji. Your suggestion about like odd even type of scheme, one day online, one day offline. Very interesting. May I request Kavitha Jain to please talk about way forward and solutions.
Hi. Online is going to be there. I mean, it's not going to reduce from now. It's definitely going to increase, like the other panelists said. So what's important is for the teachers, the facilitators to see how to make the learning meaningful and engage children in an online kind of a classroom. Covering syllabus, like everybody else said, is not the priority, but whatever is being taught should be understood in terms of application. So here the key is application-driven pedagogy, which should ideally take over. For example, if we have to teach kids states of matter, just giving them an activity to make a cup of tea with their parents at home, and considering parents are available now, would be more than happy to engage with the kids and see, okay, what is the a gas form, a solid form, a liquid form that you've observed? Is it a physical change or a chemical change? Giving them experiential and application-based learning will make the online classes more meaningful and interesting and engaging, and will also help us to some extent measure the outcome, not just through assessments. Also using authentic assessment tools, which could analyze, using artificial intelligence, analyze how every child is responding, not just giving an answer to the question, but responding to the nuances of the questions will become crucial to make online learning meaningful. So all schools, teachers must prepare themselves for the online learning scenario, which is going to sustain for long. Also, in terms of school physical infrastructure, operational infrastructure, we need to prepare for what's coming. Like if we have to maintain the physical distancing, let me put it with the way Dr. Gupta said, is our infrastructure prepared to then hold that many students, or do we have these alternate mechanisms of maybe one day online and one day coming to school? But preparing our physical infrastructure to take up the new normal would be essential. And finally, in terms of the finances, taking parents into confidence seems to be the most positive way possible. Depending on government to come up with norms is going to be very dicey, because every government is going to react and respond differently, and not going into the politics of it, but really connecting with parents at this point in time, taking them into confidence, taking their opinions, suggestions, hardships, understanding, and giving them, if not waivers, but an easier way to, an installed way to make payments would make it easier on the institution and on the parents. But making those policies right now and communicating to parents, taking them into these discussions will make a big difference in managing the finances of the school. For the new schools that are coming up, sorry, I'll just take one. I know there are a lot of new schools that are coming up, like Ms. Shilpa said, even we have quite a few schools lined up which are starting. It's very challenging because they've invested so much money and then they have no roadmap ahead. They don't have students and they don't have students coming in right now. But even for them to run not academic classes, but other skill-based programs online and engaging students to join that community, to connect with these schools and the teachers, will motivate parents to consider these schools in whenever the school opens up. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Kavitha. I think as you mentioned, taking parents into confidence right now is very important. There has been a gap between the schools and the parents always, and this is the right opportunity to bridge that gap. And the challenges are bigger for the newer schools, which might have taken loans and which have higher expenses at this moment of time. May I request Harsh Madhok to please respond on the possible solutions way forward?
Obviously, the solutions at the moment, we are all in the dark and everything is like changing day to day. So the minute, let's say, if good news comes about a vaccine, then everything goes out the window and we are back to old life. But you know, they're saying that even by the most optimistic estimates, that it's going to take some time before life returns to normal. But let's hope that it does, because a lot of what's happening in the US at the moment is that the people are saying that let the people decide if they want to go out of their house and risk their lives. Let the businesses and the customer and the business, let them decide how they are going to interact with one another, as opposed to the government deciding. So what's happened is that people, obviously, as Mr. Prabhakaran had said, that a lot of people are dying from all sorts of elements and even accidents and heart disease and diabetes. But it was not the reputation of the country's prime minister or the president at stake. So what's happened now is that it's become, every number has become a personal issue that they have to suppress those figures. So ultimately, at some point, it's sad to say, but we are reaching a stage where how do we put? Chetan Bhagat had written a very interesting piece today. It's in the paper, that how do we put a price on the human life, and how much testing do we require, and whether we will get herd immunity or not. So the times for education, also academia, is very, very interesting, because right now we are doing online education. In fact, we are one of the few services industry which is still working. If you see, tourism and hospitality sector is closed now. We're not getting that. Schools are at least running, but how long can we run like this, and whether online education is the way forward or not? It's a giant experiment which we're doing, because there are reports that, obviously, Mr. Prabhakaran had said, and Mr. Skand had also mentioned, that children, you can't have too much, screen time also. There's also, there's been reports that children should not have too much screen time, because we're not built for that. We are built for face-to-face interaction. We are built to raise our hands and say, good afternoon, sir, good evening, sir. And there are so many micro things which we are doing, which is beyond pure technical education. It's also a lot of behavioral. Children are learning compliance. They are learning how to share their tiffin boxes. So those things are simultaneously happening. And if we remove that human touch which we have, I don't know how long this experiment will last. There are definitely psychological effects which children have. They definitely need to be socialized. They need rough and tumble play. They need a lot of interaction with people around them, because otherwise they get isolated. There's a Japanese saying, it's called hikikomori. And it's basically this idea that a lot of young people in Japan, who are basically addicted to their tabs or their phones. They're very digitally advanced. They get alienated from society very, very fast, and they don't know how to, especially young men, and they don't know how to reorient themselves with the rest of with everybody. So I fear that a lot of youngsters, if they are sitting at home, they are just going through tab, even if they're doing learning online. There's an issue that it's really hard for them to get out of the house once the lockdown is finished. Again, the formative years really matters a lot. So I'm concerned about that, and I hope that we can address those things. We need contact with people to remain social. We are social animals. We need that contact.
So before we move to Dhanya, I will request all the panelists to also look at the Q&A. There are around 47 questions. Many of them are repeated. Some of the issues have been already discussed. So if you can look at them and pick up one or two questions which you are feeling interested to speak about, you may choose. And we will do that after Dhanya had spoken. Dhanya, we had lost you when you were speaking. May I request you
perils of the internet and connectivity.
Yeah. So that's a problem of online learning which the students are facing right now also. So if you can talk about the possible solutions and the way forward.
I would be more than happy to do that. I'm a person who believes there's always light at the end of the tunnel. So there are, in fact, before talking about the way forward, I would also like to say that there are many schools in India that have a different ideology, alternate schooling. There is a school that, learns along with travel. They travel in bunches all throughout the year, of course, with immense support from parents. So we need, as mainstream schools, all of us need to, buckle up and look at various ways of teaching and learning. There isn't one prescriptive way of teaching or learning. Maybe we should open up to that idea as mainstream schools, because we cater to 90% of student community in this land. So leading me to think about, how to practice critical pragmatism with children, because travel was learning, and now this crisis is also schooling for us in a sense, because you need to tell children that this is the reality of the world and this is part of living. Living is a greater thing. Education is part of living. So learning with life should be the norm of the day. So I would most definitely look for design thinking in schools where there is applied learning. Children are actively looking for or identifying problems so that they can be the solvers, mentored, of course, by teachers. So the mindset of teachers will also change. I know this is a challenge with the framework that we are in, the so-called system and government and the rules that lay by. But I think this time would be a great opportunity to test that on field. And you can also try and bring a communal space where, children from various, of course, with the physical distancing, can come in, talk about ideas and get mentored in a space and talk about things that are challenging in their own area, in public, what public are finding difficult, and create solutions for that. I think that is a greater part of learning that all of us should think and take as schools, because we hold that responsibility of doing so. And secondly, about the hybrid model, that we need to include online learning as part of schooling moving ahead. And we may probably admit students in batches when the school reopens, and talk about how children can still deal with the issues upfront, but at the same time not let that be an obstacle for them. And talking about the technical difficulties that we are currently facing, when there is an overnight change, it would be difficult for all of us to get through it. But I'm sure that we will all strive to build that kind of infrastructure to address all these issues, for which we had come up with an issue in our school where you don't have, the children do not have even smartphones at home, let alone a personal computer or laptops. So we have connected with a local streaming channel, TV, and we have tried to give in lessons per day per class in a sense of reaching out to all kids who are in need of that. And we are also sending audio lessons to tackle this difficulty. And we have opened up to a space for cloud storage, where we have actively made our teachers build the capacity of making videos online, video lessons online, and we have made more than 800 in a month. And we have seen a drastic improvement in the minds of the teacher as well as action, because initially there was so much of restrictions, and they were resistant towards that change. But the one thing that we did, which worked out amazingly for us, is that we led by examples. All our leaders also became teachers, including the management. And we also put in parent partners who were really interested. And we started giving out video lessons. And that was a game changer for us with respect to dealing with the technical aspects and the making of video. And interestingly, we also had students becoming mentors for teachers in terms of, because they're eons ahead. Come on, they are eons ahead with technology than us. So they became mentors, and they taught teachers on how to present a particular thing on the delivery. So that has been an amazing journey for us. I would really recommend that all of us try that out in schools. And that's one thing that we have to do, is to be a very, very active listener. We have to listen with all of our senses, not just ears, but all of our senses, and see what exactly parents need, what exactly students need, and address that issues and welcome review from parents. I'm sure because all of us are facing the same situation. All of us are in this particular scenario in the world, and I'm sure everybody in the world is going to pause this place and give some time to themselves first, and think about how to learn with more vigor when there's a mix of new normal and the old already existing form. And lastly, I would also like, we are talking about life skills for students. I think it's high time that we as schools should look for and engage and learn and acquire the life skills that are required for a school. So we can engage various industries, listen to them, and make decisions on things that are on demand for us, make solutions for schools, and talk about the reach of schools. We can of learning. We can talk about shared hotspots from neighbors, in a sense, and also give teachers some solutions. We have thought about building this soft infrastructure for teachers, where we are conducting online tutorials on how teachers can present their lessons to children, imbibing different aspects of learning, imbibing social emotional segment, imbibing assignments, assessments. And assessments are something that we need to look for learning and off learning. So those are the things that come to my mind.
Right.
And also,
fantastic.
Sorry, because I got cut. I wanted to take a little bit.
Yes. Thank you, Dhanya. I think the great initiatives your school is taking. Hats off to you. Now we are at 4:15, and we would like to end this finally next half an hour max. So we have. I'm going to request each of the panelists to pick up one or two questions, and in a maximum 2 to 3 minutes each. Each of the panelists can speak. So may I request Mr. Prabhakaran Nair to answer some of the questions and points raised in the Q&A or chat. If you have.
Thank you. I have clubbed a few questions. Number one is my answer to certain questions. For example, if you look at education is not just percentage of marks or some classes or some mathematical formula. It is net total of so many things. And this year, we are facing a problem. And just online education is not the only solution. In fact, how effective is online solution, and some of the questions are what is outcome of online solution, there is no specific way we can evaluate. And also someone mentioned about the network and rural area. It's a fact. Some of the questions were very sensible. For example, if you look at Indian education, 70% of education in India, students in India goes to state board, 70%, because education is a state subject. 20 to 25% goes to CBSE, Central National Curriculum. And remaining ICSE, ISE, IB, all these put together is between 5 to 10%. Now, all the panel, we are sitting here, we comes in that 10%, if you don't mind. That's what my take on this issue. We are only dealing and discussing only the 10% of the problem. If you look at the 90% of the problem in the country, it is unaddressed. Network, even now, in this particular forum, look at the technical glitches which we have faced it. This is a very well organized professionals handling it, and we are all heads of the institution. We are sitting there. We all have all support systems. Still, we are suffering to get a good connectivity. Imagine the condition of people in rural villages. So, only solution here is, I'm very, very, very realistic and practical that this particular situation may continue till June, July. And August, September, most probably the schools are going to be opened, at least on a temporary basis. That's what the general discussion. And all that we can do is, we can give enough emotional and moral support to the parents. For teachers also, for example, there is a lot of stress factor built up with the teachers. Some of our teachers, they have full-fledged families. Some are mothers, some are sisters. They have to take care of the family. And dealing online classes are very, very difficult, both for teachers, students also. So we have to go ahead with this crisis situation, face it in a positive way. There should be some support system from the school. Maybe the counselor, maybe the head of the institution can talk to the students, talk to the students, parents once in a while, and get this transition done in a very positive way. There is no clear-cut solution. As I'm mentioning it, 90% of our students, if you look at in our country, doesn't come in this sector. And also, forget about internet connectivity. Large number of areas, they don't even have access to pure drinking water. That's the situation of a country. And since we are all going through this, let's understand, stick to the support to each other, and wait and watch what we can do. Maybe another 3 months down the line, it will clear up. But again, online solutions, online teaching is not 100% solution to any learning. Online teaching has got its own problem, number one. And number two, the children who are hooked into gadgets, children sitting on top of this electronic scene 24/7 will create other massive health as well as other issues. So, and also it's very important that we avoid too much of involvement with this electronic scene and give them some opportunity to read, give them some opportunity to do some gardening, or to help father and mother in their home, in their domestic work. All these can be a solution. But at the moment, with the given condition, there is no clear-cut solution as such, because the situation is highly unpredictable as on now. Maybe another 2 months down the line, it may clear up. I'm being very realistic because I'm facing it in my home. I'm facing it in my school. So that's the way I look at it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Prabhakaran. May I request Skand Bali to respond to some of the questions and points raised by the audience?
See, there are multiple points raised by the audience, but few things I want to make it very clear is that instead of looking at things in a negative way, what will happen to the examinations, what will happen to the syllabus, what will happen to the staff, what will happen to the excess staff, etc., etc., etc. Firstly, we have to accept the reality. The reality is, in all normal circumstances, schools will be the last priority to open. And that means that we are not opening, we'll be very lucky if schools open in the month of August or late July. I assume that we may get dragged as late as September or even October. So we have to look at solutions. Solutions, when I say, is educational industry or people from educational fraternity or the teachers from across, heads from across have to come together and collaborate. There has to be more sharing, wherein it's the responsibility of the head of the institution to connect his or her teachers from the other schools where they are collaborating with, to know what problems they are facing and how they are finding solution to that problem. I'm sure everybody is in the same problem at the same time, but there are a few who must be finding some solution to it. We also need to look at this time and invest in the teacher training. Our faculty needs to be trained to handle online teaching and learning program, which is the need of the hour. We have to look at it, and we have to look at it very seriously. And for that, we can collaborate with Microsoft. We can collaborate with experts from outside. If any school finds it difficult to collaborate with outside, they can collaborate with their own computer teachers who can take online training sessions for their staff. So basically, everybody has to be held. Everybody's hand has to be held to take them forward. We need to look at that aspect as well. The role of the special educators and the counselor becomes very, very critical here, because we should not forget the minority students who are with special needs. Now, for them, physical contact is very, very critical and important. And that's the time I feel that special educators also need to take online sessions with them, and the parents have to sit with them at home so that the things can move forward and they are also taken in. Counselor access has to be given to the parents, a very important role. The teachers and the school should plan that there is at least 15-minute gap between two online classes so that there is a break in the screen time for the children. And the parents have to make sure that the children leaves the screen during that 15-minute time. And teachers have to be told that they have to stick to their timing so that there is no overlap for the children. All said and done, the screen time is definitely not healthy. Research says that you should not give exposure of screen to children till the age of 10 and 11. And you should start exposing them about a couple of hours a day beyond 11 or 12 years of age. Now, here we are talking about online learning and teaching, as I said earlier, for kindergarten children, because it has become a new fashion, online learning and online teaching. So there is a way by which we can find a solution, that there are certain things, certain topics which you need not do online. You can share with the parents. Parents can collaborate at home. They can get those things done with the students. And then the findings can be given back to the school, to the teachers concerned. There is so much you can relate with agriculture or farming at home. There is so much you can relate with cooking at home. There is so much you can relate with social skills, soft skills with the parents. We should not forget, as I mentioned earlier, that most of the teaching community in our country are ladies, and those ladies are handling their homes as well. So there is a huge stress level which will fall on the teachers as well if the entire community of parents, administrators, heads, and owners of the schools do not come together and shelter them as well. You have to give breathing space to the teachers as well. Teaching in a classroom and teaching online are two completely different things. You have to give teachers enough space or the time so that they can train for their classes. At the same time, you have to give them time so that they can prepare their lessons for online learning, and then subsequently give them sufficient breaks in between the classes as well. So that's what I said earlier as well, that the heads of the schools and the administrators have to be more creative here, and they have to think out of the box to come up with what best can be done. And I completely agree with Mr. Goenka's suggestion that even if schools open, initial priority should be distancing, social distancing. Now, how can you manage that social distancing? You can do it only by alternate days: Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, Tuesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays. So you could run school for all 6 days and call half of the students of the class on Monday, and the same class is repeated on Wednesday and the Friday, whereas the other half come on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. That is another way of looking at things. So these are some of my, thoughts which I don't know how many of the questions would have been addressed, but these are some of the ways. But bottom line is parents, teachers, management, everybody has to come together to find solutions. There's no one rocket science solution to it.
Thank you, Skand.
Thank you.
Excellent views and excellent suggestions. May I request Shilpa Potnis to please respond. Shilpa.
Mr. Bali has covered the plethora of questions that have come up on the screen. But yes, again, all the stakeholders are important here. Parents, students, and teachers. Our teachers are doing a wonderful job. Again, we are reiterating that. I would look at teachers as I would like to call them as teacher warriors who are also on the front line along with our doctors and nurses and police force, because they are ensuring that the learning is not stopping for children and are, despite all odds, are continuing with their efforts of providing the videos, the worksheets, everything. Now, when I look at it, how to go about it at the preschool and the primary level, since we don't want to really expose children to a lot of screen time, the focus could be more on providing worksheets and those kind of activities where the parent would be involved in getting these activities done at the school, at home front, and the screen time can be restricted more for your co-curricular activities, which could be included, which could be something like music and dance and those kind of activities. So that comes to the pre and the primary level. Going to middle school, yes, a little bit of scholastics can be taken up where we are doing sessions online with breaks. The way Mr. Sandeep ji said about alternate day schooling, the rota basis can be implemented for teachers also, maybe. If we have that kind of teacher strength, that way the teachers will also get that 1 day break to prepare for their next day lesson. And each teacher does an online session alternate day instead of doing it every day. So the stress for the teacher is also less. And since the children are also coming on a rota basis alternate day, the teacher is going to also do the same thing. So if that works out, plus it will always be a combination of e-learning plus physical classroom with one desk per child kind of a thing. Right now we have 2-3 children sharing one desk, a longer desk, so we'll have to maintain the physical distancing. We have one desk, one child policy. We can have the break time can be deferred grade wise, so that no one time is not there where children converge to common areas. So these kind of simple, very basic steps each school will have to take depending on the kind of infrastructure we have and take it forward. But yes, it will be a combination of online versus rota basis of schools and rota basis for teachers for online tutoring, and only then we can come up with answers. Yes, parents become very important at this point for us, because they are ultimately going to be the most important stakeholders for us, who's going to ensure that the right infrastructure is available to the child at home to be able to take over the online sessions that the school is looking at. Yes, a lot of questions on rural India. Yes, this does not, the online thing may not or may apply to not apply in that sense to the rural part or areas where we have connectivity issues. In that case, we have to depend on more on rota basis schools where we have lesser children coming into the school on a day-to-day basis and teachers delivering their part, which means the pressure is coming on teachers, agreed, but we have to work out a solution which where pull in the parents as volunteers to help the schools in these sessions also. That's how I would look at it. Thank you.
Thank you, Shilpa. Thank you so much. May I request Harsh or Madhok to please respond?
Okay, so one of the people in the chat had asked me what the Japanese term which I had said earlier, and it's called hikikomori. I've just added on the chat what it meant and what it means. So I'm just going to today. I feel that a lot of from the chats as I'm seeing, there seems to be a pattern that a lot of teachers are having a tough time, adapting to the technology front. And I faced as you know, as I was attending this class, you know, I have Zoom app, but I have it on my phone. I don't have it on the desktop. So as I was fiddling around with it, and as we were fiddling around with it, it took some time before we could, you know, give a presentation out. And sometimes, you know, as a teacher, you want to stay on top of it, and children are very smart. In fact, I feel sometimes children will you know, adapt to technology much quicker than we adults. So I would suggest to all the teachers and all those who might be fearing technology and how we can go about online education, I would say have your staff meeting. Start with having a staff meeting on, you know, on one of these apps, and do a demo session, because directly you may not want to come in unprepared in front of your children. So it's very important for teachers to start, you know, doing some demo work. And sometimes there is, you have to do two things simultaneously. On one hand, you have to do classes. So for example, right now, Sunbeam group in Varanasi, we're using Zoom app, and we are using WhatsApp and email for children to submit their assignments. But at the same time, we also need a learning management system, LMS, which is basically something in which you can, you know, like an online portal. And there are platforms such as Google Classroom, and there is Microsoft Teams. These are some of the platforms which are used for you know, LMS, learning management systems. But these are slightly more advanced in my opinion. So what we are doing is that teachers are doing their daily work. They're giving their lesson plan. They're doing all the lectures. They're using mostly Zoom, which is easier to use, and WhatsApp and email, which they're already used to. Because it takes time for people to adapt to technology. You cannot just learn something and start rolling out and performing from day one. So what we are doing is that all the other research and development work is happening simultaneously, where teachers are ongoing training. They're going through ongoing training, and eventually, slowly, we are going to roll out all the other platforms and all the other services once teachers are comfortable with it. If teachers are not comfortable with technology, and that is a huge problem, you know, for us. So it has to be a very, very slow process. I hope that I've made it clear for all the people who've been asking this question.
Great, Harsh. Thanks for the inputs. May I request Dr. Rakesh Khullar to respond, please?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's one question, that is, being an head of the institution, how can we manage the salary or finance part? And being one of the owner of the school or head of the institution, I can understand the worry behind this financial part of the institution. So, in an institution, the main income of an institution is fees. That is the only source of income. And on the other hand, expenses side, the main portion of expenses, main part is of a salary. And say, if you're not receiving your fees on a regular basis, maybe you're getting 10%, 20, 30 or 40%, but at the same time, you have to manage the expenses. You cannot delay your expenses. So for that, what you have to do is just, there are 2-3 points. For the number one is prioritize your expenses, starting with the highest priority to the lowest priority. And at the top priority is the salary. Now, point is that you are not getting enough fee from the parent. It is not that you will not get, you will get, but maybe after 3 months, 4 months, 5 months or 6 months. But how to manage your expenses in that case? So, and the first thing is priorities. Second part is to partially pay the expenses. Say, main thing is salary. If you don't have enough finances, what you can do is you can pay the salary to the staff partially, maybe 50% right now. Once the fee started coming to your institution, you can pay the balance amount not at once, maybe another 10%, 50%, 25% like that only. And another thing is the most important that many of you may not be knowing because I'm one of the chartered accountant also, that is take the help of the bank. Bank, they give the facility of that discounting of receivables. Your receivables are your fees. If you're not getting your receivables, your fees at present, maybe after 3 or 4 months, they give you the finance against that. Say the bank calculate all the fee receipts for the whole year, and they give you the amount at once, and they take control of the fees and charge you interest on that. In that case, all the expenses, or maybe all the top priority expenses, can be met according to that. And the last resort is the take the help of the government. If the situation is very, very peculiar, very, very different, say if there are some parents who cannot pay you the fee at all for the whole year, then if we can ask the government to help us for that. That are the 4 points which I can think of right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rakesh Khullar. May I request Kavitha Jain to please respond on some of the questions which have from relevance.
Sure. So I will first maybe naming, but I really appreciate Akshat, a student, and it's wonderful to see a student attend this event of educationists and heads of institutions and owners and try and gain something from this. Wonderful, Akshat. Keep it up. I see your question is you have a single device and 2 people are sharing this. Akshat, whatever your teacher is teaching in terms of lecture is really available. I mean, you type any grade, any topic, there are lectures available on the internet. If you don't have a device and if you have a DTH operator, I mean, you have a DTH device which is connected to your TV, there are free lectures available on multiple channels. Please pick up some of those lectures. Don't stop your learning because you don't have a device or you don't have an internet. I mean, you have internet, but you don't have a device. If you're not able to attend your teacher's lecture, once your mom is done with the phone, please still take it up and attend, see some free lectures that are available. Get back to your teacher with your questions. Discuss with her how you apply that knowledge in real life, and your learning is still going to be complete. So all the best to you, Akshat. A few other pointers that I saw which kind of surprised me a little is the questions are, is online learning going to stay? People will forget what is online after school start. But why should we forget? Online learning is not bad. It's wonderful. It's a great tool. The challenge is if it's only online learning. That is why all of us are discussing today, because it's only online learning. But we don't have to eliminate online learning. In fact, this is a great time for us to prepare, equip ourselves, our teachers, our students, because that's the future. There was a recent study which said all working professionals today take up to 5 online courses all over the world and on various platforms like Coursera, and there are so many. I wouldn't want to name all of them, but that's the future. All of us are going to learn online at some point of time. So why stop it? Let's use this time and prepare ourselves to use this technology. Of course, once the schools start, we don't want to say that go all online, but let that mix always be there. So we are preparing children for the way they will learn in future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kavitha. Thanks for answering some of the questions. And especially, I'm also surprised that some of the students are attending it. There are few more questions by students I'm seeing it. Very surprising. So, Sandeep Goenka ji, your response to some of the questions, please. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah. First of all, I would like to compliment and raise a toast for all the teachers who've done a wonderful job. You know, we were always under the impression that they will not be able to take it up technologically that well. But believe me, the first time we asked them that you need to take it up, and there was not a percentage of reluctance. They took it up like a challenge, and fantastic, really. We've had such great feedbacks from parents and the students, and we're really happy that our teachers managed it so well in so short time. I'll just take up one of the question which came up. It's by Girijesh Tripathi. I think it's a very valid question. It's regarding the quality of online classes. Yes, the teachers need to be trained because it came up suddenly. A few of the teachers have not been trained. They are improving. And with this holiday coming up, I mean, it's a holiday since a month. But as soon as it opens up a little bit, there'll be huge training sessions with the teachers, and the content, curriculum, etc. is going to be developed for it to be more friendly on the online platform. I think one very important point we are missing out. Coronavirus has hit us physically, but what about the viruses which are going to take it up on the computing platform? We have to be very careful. The antivirus program, the antiviruses which we need to build up, the firewalls which we need to build up, the content security. I think all the content which is there in the central server has to be very well protected, because at times the teachers are going to take up classes from home, or 50% of the time, I would say, and it should not be that your content is compromised either ways, you know. And I would even put it one step forward, even the data of the teacher should be secure. So we need to find out ways and means how they connect onto a secured network, and then they run these classes. Because at the end of it, the school data or the teacher's data is equally important. We can't compromise either and both. So these two things which came up, yes, there were a lot of issues on Zoom which came up, is not safe, but there are ways and means you can, you know, lock the room, have a waiting room, invite, don't leave your password, let it be every time the meeting should have a different meeting ID. How we've done this webinar today, I'm sure it's fully secure. So we need to bring about this awareness within the teachers as well as the school, how to conduct classes. Even Harsh rightly put up, there are many other platforms. We are ourselves exploring Google Classrooms. We are in an ERP system called MICM, and they've already tied up with Google Classrooms. So once a child gets promoted on our ERP system, suppose 3A going to 4B next year, automatically the classroom on Google Classes get created. So there's nobody can intrude and, you know, compromise the security and unnecessary content on the screen. So I think, yes, a lot of training needs to be there, and we must invest in good firewalls, good antivirus to secure the entire platform. And teacher training, of course, is a must. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandeep ji. A very important question you have answered, which is about the Zoom security. Everyone is asking. I think there are 4 or 5 people at least asking that same question. May I request Dhanya to kindly answer 2 questions, and we are very late, so we can be brief. Yes.
Sure. I would like to answer a couple of questions from Ms. Devashri Ghosh. She has spoken about how do we complete the portions, and how do we know that if the child has understood it or not, and you also have varied abilities. So how do I cater to all of them? And it's very challenging is what she says. But I think I have an experience that I would like to share with you. We have encouraged peer helpline program where children who are better adaptive and understanding can help others in terms of short videos or presentations again. And we have also sought the help from technology on adaptive assignments. So based on the teacher obviously knows the child's strength. So the basic motto is to play according to your strengths. And if the child needs more help, there are tools available now that will support adaptive learning. So that can be encouraged in the schools. And there is also one question about the emotional temperament of a kid who may have suffered a personal crisis during this time. How do I be kind to her? Is that the best thing that you can do is to make the kid spend time along with her comfort group. That way, the child is already comfortable in school, and then you can probably, and there is one question about who do not know to even speak in English. So the best thing that you can do is to provide support. And if you're willing and you do not know the ways to teach, you can have a resource team from school helping, talking, having a dialogue with parents and helping them to reach out to the kids and learn certain things together. And it doesn't matter if it's done in the mother tongue or in English. All that is important is that there's learning happening while the children are at home, different kinds of learning. And there's a question from Saroj Pandey about not having able to do any kind of physical activity. So you can have 2 academic activities per day and 1 physical activity. It can be yoga, it can be meditation, it can be fitness that you can do inside 4 walls. You can have the co-scholastic teachers roll out those sessions to your children, and as parents you can just verify if they are doing the tasks. And there are so many questions about kindergarten learning, screen time, online learning. So what we have done is we have made the lesson for the parent and we have clustered them into WhatsApp groups. And it's basically anything in kindergarten is basically about identification. So whatever you learn in kindergarten is all around you. So again, imbibing, speaking in their own comfortable language, making sure identification is happening. There will be an issue with writing, but I think writing will come once comprehension is all in place in the heads of the children. And about the rural schools and how do we technologically, enrich them. We are a school that has got good infrastructure. We can look for schools nearby and adopt those schools in terms of technological partnership and try again. I'm reiterating the point that I said earlier about the spaces of community learning and training the teachers, capacity building of teachers. Apart from online classes that all of us have spoken about, we can also have recorded classes. You can take big concepts, break them into pieces, make shorter videos with greater impact for children so that the child does not lose focus, because focus was also another part of the discussion. And you can also ask a question about how all teachers can be very good technologically in making videos. We have actually found leaders in teachers who are very good with technology, and we have made them a team to support and mentor other teachers. It has been working wonderfully for us. And the best thing that we or all of us can do is to identify all our strengths and our children's strengths and promote learning through those strengths. I think that would be the best thing that we can do, create a group amongst teachers, parents, and students. Especially teachers from liberal arts. They can use their strengths to teach lessons of concepts of academics. Physics can be taught through music. There are a few initiatives, if taught, with the grit that is required, will arise. We have included story in mathematics thanks to e-learning now. And all that we have to do is to break the inhibition of the teacher to appear publicly. And we can also create a platform for them to make their learnings available on the internet. That way they are themselves in the path of self-development. So that is to say and give my comments about the questions, a few questions that I tried to address. And thank you all for giving me this opportunity.
Great, Dhanya. Thanks for answering questions. Very nice of you. And I must thank all the panelists for amazing insights, amazing, I think, experiences, and each of you have a way of looking at things, and you have suggested solutions. And many of our audience who are here are from the school sector, and they would have highly benefited from these interactions. That's my hope. And I would like to thank all the audience and all the speakers for joining in here. And I request each of you to kindly share this video on the Facebook so that more and more people are benefited by the great inputs here. There is so much confusion in the school sector. So I hope that this interaction would have helped a bit to get some new ideas and suggestions for many of the stakeholders. With this, I want to thank each of you, and namaste to everyone. Namaskar to each other.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody, please
God bless you all.
stay safe.
Stay safe. Yeah. God
Stay
bless.
safe, everybody.
Be home, be safe.
Thank
Yes.
Thank you, Ravi.
This too
Thank you,
shall pass.
Raviji, for
Thank you.
moderating.
Learning
What
to
a
you all.
wonderful.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
you.
Raviji.
Thank you. Bye-bye.